Hi everyone, I'm happy to have you all again in a new video edition under the topic deflection of beams. This is a continuation of the previous video where I told you that I will be putting a video on the derivation of this Euler's equation. It resulted in the relation between slope, deflection and radius of curvature. This relationship between these three parameters gave you this Euler's equation, which is going to be the base for solving problems under this deflection of beam. Let us start with the derivation. Here you can see deflection of beam has been given as a diagram. See, let us consider a beam AB which has deflected in this way. The load acting at its midpoint. Right? The radius of curvature is R, that is, if you extend a line from point A and point B, it will meet at a single point O. This OA and OB is called as the radius of curvature for this deflected beam. I also told you this ACB is also called as C dash B is also called as elastic curve because it is getting deflected within the elastic limit, and Y is your deflection. It is denoted as the deflection. In this case, Y is going to be your maximum deflection because the load is acting at the center, and also this slope at point A is theta, and as you drag it down along the curve until C dash, you are going to get a straight curve. If you are going to draw a tangent at this point C, it is going to be parallel with that of this beam. So remember that I told you the slope is having a 0 degree. That is the point where you are going to get the maximum deflection. Right? Okay. Now you are going to take a small portion PQ on the curve, that is elastic curve. We are going to take a small portion PQ on the beam, and if you are going to get the radius of curvature for this, I have shown it in a different color. See, this is going to be the radius of curvature, that is OP and OQ. Right? OP and OQ. Now, zooming this portion alone, that is POQ, we have zoomed this portion in XY axis. That is what available here. See, your PQ is available here, right? PQ. This is your AB curve, elastic curve, and small portion PQ is taken here. So it has been enlarged view, but it is very small. We have enlarged it as a bigger one. So they have taken this PQ as the distance of PQ as ds, and the angle included for this sector PQ is d psi, and the radius of curvature is CP and CQ. How to obtain the radius of curvature? That is draw a tangent from P that is meeting the x-axis that forms an angle psi. Draw a tangent from Q. Draw a tangent from Q that is meeting x-axis and is forming an angle with respect to the x-axis as psi plus d psi. Because as I told you, this PQ is a small portion and hence the angle difference will also be very small. If this is psi, if the tangent that is drawn from P is psi, making an angle psi, tangent drawn from the point Q is going to be psi plus d psi. Only a small change of angle from the actual angle, right? So, if you draw a normal from the tangent from each point, from point P if you draw a normal and from point Q if you draw a normal, both will meet at a point that is going to give you the radius of curvature, that is CP and CQ, that is denoted as R, that is denoted as R, and the angle included is d psi. The angle included is d psi. Now, as you know that PC is equal to QC, that is equal to R, that is given here. Now, proceeding with the derivation, the point C is known as the center of curvature of the curve PQ. Yes, obviously, the point C is the center of curvature of PC and CQ, right? The length of PQ is equal to ds. As I already told you, the length of PQ is equal to ds, right? And the angle PCQ is d psi. PCQ is d psi, right? So PQ is equal to ds and ds is equal to R into d psi. So this is a curve. This is a curve PQ and it is ds. How will you represent a sector? Sector is that radius into angle gives you the sector. Radius of curvature into the angle included will give you this length of the sector. That is what here denoted. ds is equal to R into d psi, right? So from this we can write it as R is equal to ds by d psi. R is equal to ds by d psi. So here we have to note one important thing, that since ds is very small segment, as I told you, in the curve AB, PQ is very small segment. That is nothing but your ds. PQ is ds. It is a very small segment. With the naked eye, it is visible as a straight line. Hence, it is considered to be a straight line, right? So, considering that as a straight line, and we are forming a right angle triangle. So, extending this line along x-axis and extending this line along y-axis. So, we have formed a right angle. So, here I have shown that enlarged view of the right angle. This is your curve PQ. For the naked eye, it is seen as a straight angle. So, it is taken as the hypotenuse side. So, this will be your opposite side and this will be your adjacent side. dy will be the opposite side and dx will be your adjacent side. The included angle is psi. Where it is taken from? If this is psi, this is also psi. This is psi, this is also psi, right? Okay. Then from this triangle PQ, keep some point here, some PQR or something, right? From this triangle, right angle triangle, tan psi is equal to, what is tan? Trigonometric formula, tan is opposite by adjacent. Therefore, dy by dx, opposite by adjacent. Tan is opposite by adjacent, so dy by dx. What is sine? Sine is opposite by hypotenuse. So this is opposite by hypotenuse. What is cos? Cos is adjacent by hypotenuse. So dx by ds. So all the trigonometric angles are derived from this triangle. So let us proceed with the derivation. Let us see what is the use of this trigonometric values. What is the use of this trigonometric value in this equation? Right? In the previous slide itself, we saw that r is equal to ds by d psi. Right? R is equal to ds by d psi. Now, dividing dx in numerator and denominator, we get ds by dx, d psi by dx. Both the numerator and denominator is divided with the help of dx, divided by dx. So ds by dx, d psi by dx. Right? So we already know from the previous trigonometric equation, cos psi is equal to dx by ds. Cos psi is equal to dx by ds. We have here ds by dx. So reciprocal of cos psi will give you dx by ds. Right? So that's why they are given here as 1 by cos psi. Actually cos psi is dx by dx. If you take reciprocal, it changes as ds by dx. Right? Okay. Now this d psi by dx remains the same. Now from this equation, we know that 1 by cos psi is secant psi. Trigonometric relation. 1 by cos psi is secant psi by d psi by dx. So from this, differentiating the equation tan psi is equal to dy by dx. We have already got tan psi is equal to dy by dx. We are going to differentiate this equation, because why we are differentiating this tan psi is equal to dy by dx? Here we have secant, so we need a value for the secant. So differentiating this tan psi will give you secant, right? So we have already got tan psi is equal to dy by dx. Now we are going to differentiate the tan psi is equal to dy by dx on both the sides. Differentiating tan psi gets secant square psi, against differentiating psi will give you d psi by dx. Everything we are doing in with respect to x, right? So differentiating tan psi, that is tan changes into secant square psi. Again differentiating psi will give you d psi by dx is equal to, now differentiating dy by dx, it goes to the second order equation, that is d square y by dx square. dy by dx goes to the, this is first order, it goes to the second order while differentiating, right? Now d psi by dx, bringing secant square down, we get secant square psi, that is d square y by dx square by secant square psi. Substituting this value d psi by dx, where? Here in this equation, r is equal to secant psi by d psi by dx. Now d psi by dx in equation r is equal to secant psi by d psi by dx, we get secant psi by d square y by dx square by secant square psi. So this secant square psi goes above to the numerator. So secant psi into secant square psi divided by d square y by dx square. Now multiplying gets to the third order, that is secant cube psi divided by d square y by dx square, right? So proceeding with the derivation, taking the reciprocal on both the sides. This equation, that is ultimate equation, is r is equal to secant cube by d square y by dx square. We are going to take reciprocal for both the sides, this side and this side. Doing so, we get 1 by r. So if you reciprocal it, right? If you reciprocal this, it gets 1 by r. and if you reciprocal it, this, it is 1 by secant cube psi by d square y by dx square. Now taking this d square y by dx square above, this is secant cube psi will come down, d square y by dx square goes to the top. So that is what given here, 1 by r d square y by dx square goes to the top, secant cube psi comes down, right? Now this secant cube, they are trying to change it to square, hence what they are doing is they are putting whole power 3 by 2. That doesn't change any base value. Here again, if you cancel this square and square, this 2 and power 2 at the bottom, you will get again secant cube. Hence, this secant cube is changed into secant square the whole power 3 by 2, right? Now this secant square can be written as 1 plus tan square psi. This secant square can be written as 1 plus tan square psi whole power 3 by 2, right? In practical condition, always tan value is very less. In practical condition, tan angle is always very less, so it can be neglected. Very small quantity in whatever be the condition, not only in this derivation, in all kind of derivations, wherever you get this tan value, it is going to be a very less value, hence it is always neglected, right? So when you neglect this tan square psi, 1 is going to be remaining, 1 power anything is going to be 1, right? 1 power 3 by 2 is going to be 1, right? So this 1 by r is equal to d square y by dx square. This entire term at the bottom is going to be 1. So d square y by dx square. So d square y by dx square is going to be the same, right? Now we know that bending equation is m by I is equal to E by R. From the bending equation we know m by I is equal to E by R. So from this, if you keep this 1 by r here and bring this E here, it becomes 1 by r is equal to m by EI, right? From this equation, keep this 1 by r here, bring this E alone to the bottom, you will get m by EI. 1 by r is equal to m by EI. Now here also you got 1 by r is equal to d square y by dx square. Here also you got 1 by r is equal to m by EI. Equate both the equation. 1 by r is equal to m by EI. 1 by r is equal to d square y by dx square. Equating both the equation, you get m by EI is equal to d square y by dx square. Ultimately, now cross multiplying this EI here, you get m is equal to EI d square y by dx square, right? So this is your ultimate value. So this is the equation which is most important, used throughout this chapter, right? Deflection of beam. Whether you solve it for the double integration method or you solve it for the Maclaurin method, this is going to play a major role. M by EA is equal to d square y by dx square. M is otherwise m is called as momentum, right? With this momentum equation, and if you have a beam like if suppose it is a simply supported beam, and some load is applied here, and if you are going to make a equation with respect to momentum, you are going to find out a momentum equation. That momentum equation and this momentum expression is going to be equated, and from that this d square y by dx square we are going to integrate. One time if you integrate, it goes to get changed to dy by dx. So dy by dx is obviously your slope. Again if you once again integrate, you will be getting y. Y is deflection. So dy by dx is slope and y is deflection. So this is how it is going to help your problems, and this is the ultimate Euler's equation. So let us not stop here. You are also in need of knowing some extra details. When you differentiate this equation, this momentum equation on both sides, you will get dm by dx, and this side Ea is constant, that is going to remain, and this goes to the third order, that is d cube y by dx cube, right? So from this, change in momentum with respect to x is the shear force. You would have studied in bending moment and shear force diagram, change in momentum with respect to x, change in moment, sorry, it is not momentum, change in moment with respect to x is your shear force. So therefore this is going to be F is equal to Ei d cube y by dx cube, right? Now again, if you differentiate this equation F is equal to Ei d cube y by dx cube on both sides, you will get df by dx, and Ei is constant. This d cube by dy is going to change into fourth order, d power 4y by dx power 4. And also again we know that df by dx, there is change in shear force with respect to x. Change in shear force with respect to x is going to be rate of loading W. Rate of loading W. How simple it is and how easily it is related with each other, right? So rate of loading gives rise to shear force gives rise to moment, right? Okay, clear? Now, so this will be your, again, if you are going to integrate these things, if you are going to integrate on both sides, this process is going to happen in the reverse. So rate of loading to shear force to momentum, and again this will also get reduced, that is d power 4y by dx square, dx power 4 changes to d power cube by d cube y by dx cube. Again it is reduced to d square y by dx square, and then dy by dx, and then y, right? So that is what you are given here. Y is deflection, slope is dy by dx, bending moment is Ei d square y by dx, shear force is Ei d cube y by dx, and the rate of loading is Ei d power 4 y by dx power 4. So this is differentiation continuously, and if you go in the reverse way, if you integrate, it is going to rise and it is going to reduce and get back to its initial condition of deflection. So this is how a deflection equation and slope equation is formed in the problems which is solved, and with that equation it is easy for you to find out slope or deflection at any point on the curve, So this is the derivation I wanted to share with you people. So it is one of an important derivation which you are supposed to know to understand how this elastic curve equations are formed in double integration method and Michaelis method. Thanks for watching.